So welcome everybody to, drum roll, Debbie Does Property on Zoom with her amazing team, Lee Gilda, woohoo! Lee Gilda and Wayne isn't here yet, but we are expecting him very, very soon.
Got
So
to.
if Wayne doesn't turn up, that means me and Lee's got to give financial advice and end up in prison by no good solicitor. What do you think about that, Lee? Are you all right with that, Lee?
You're on your own there, Debbie. I'm not going to prison for anyone. I wouldn't survive.
I would, you see. I'd make me way up to kitchen.
I wouldn't want to say what I'd be used as.
Kitchen maid. Not for long with my cooking skills. Anyway, a huge welcome, everybody. What we're going to do is we thought tonight we'll talk a little bit about angels. If you could just mute yourself, my lovelies, just for this bit, and then if you've got any questions later on, we can go through it. So let's get cracking with angels. So we're just waiting for there's people coming in now. I wasn't sure that obviously 6:30 was a bit early, but I've got something exciting on with my fundamentals with my little first cohort later on, so I had to put it on a bit earlier. So is anybody needing angel funding for their deals? If you give us a raise hand, or have you got lots and lots of dough? Anybody need angel funding? Yeah. Show me the money, honey. So yeah, everybody needs it. We need it to scale up, don't we? So we're just going to talk about angel funding from an investor point of view, me, from a legal point of view with our Lee, and a finance point of view with Wayne. Because how can we actually recycle the angel money, and how do the lenders look at the end or even at the beginning on how we use it? Because there's only certain ways we can use angel funding. So hopefully all that knowledge will give you a starter to get out there and get angels. So let's crack on, and I'll get the slides up. Let's have a look. See if I can do this without any now then. No, don't worry, I haven't been taken over by AI. I know I've got the slides up. It's still me. I'm just learning. So on these meetings, our goal is simple. We really want you to succeed in your property investment. So if there's any topics you want to cover, please just DM me. We've made all the mistakes. We've got the t-shirt. We've been doing it for a long time, and I don't want you to make the mistakes. We really want to shortcut you to the real things that you need in property investing, and not go and spend tens of thousands on property education or courses. You just need a plan. You need the deals. You need the money. So there's other bits that go into there. So that's what we want to help you with. And we've got the full team. We've got legals, we've got finance, everything you need within that power team to help you succeed. So there's no competition here. Nobody's better than anybody else. It's simple. We collaborate, we work together. Please reach out if you've got any deals or any questions on anything. And we've only got Lee, obviously he's a lawyer, and we've got Wayne just for tonight for an hour. So really use them and abuse them. They love it. They've been working with me long enough. So yeah. So let's crack on. So really what I want to do is I really want to get you to shine in front of angel investors. So I'm just going to give you a little bit of what I do and one of my strategies, and then you can take what you learned from tonight and sort of start putting things together with your business proposal. So halo effect, how can you actually get angels on board? So what actually is an angel? So an angel is an investor with private money, private investment. In our case, and I'm sure it's your case as well, we want them for property. So we want them to fund our property deals. We give them a monthly or yearly return or a profit share if it's a flip, and it all just depends on your strategy. So whatever your strategy is, obviously you need to make sure that the angel is clear on that strategy and your business plan. Angels excited, so just put that's why I married one. Obviously we know that's not true. I'm the angel in this relationship. So where do we actually find these angels? So One of the strategies I love, does anybody go to any local networking meetings or meetings that might even be angels on the Zoom tonight? So which would be really good. Just pop in the box if you've got any money. There's plenty of people on here that need your money. So we love property, business and network meets. And that's why Mealy and Wayne have got one in London, we've got one in Sunderland, and we're going to be having one in Newcastle as well to bring us all together. So make sure you look out for those dates. So you need to know who's in the room, who's got your money. So you need to do a lot of research beforehand on who's actually going to be at that networking event. So we've all been to networking events where people's drained the life out of us and we've went and we haven't got anything that we want. So you need to do your due diligence, check out, speak to the organizer, tell them what you're looking for, and just make sure people's there who's got money if that's what you're looking for, or deals. So work the room, meet everybody, and has anybody here got a propelling pitch? Can you put your hands up if you've got like a business plan or a propelling pitch that you have for investors, for angels to get there on board? Or put in the chat if you've got one, you've used one, and what the results have been. So we really need a propelling pitch, which is like a mini version of your full business plan. So your detailed business plan, you've then got a little 5 to 10 minute pitch, which the investor will then know once you pitch them a bit about you, your values, what your strategy is, and what the business is. So we need to get that pitch to engage them, to get them on board, to get them excited. Yeah, and to understand what you're actually doing for a business. And that will give you credibility that you actually know your business. We really need to know our business. So you can find people on social media and also looking at you being on the social media platform. So LinkedIn's like a professional. I think I like that platform. I love LinkedIn. It's very, very professional. When I put things on Facebook, they probably don't look as professional. So and then you've got Instagram as well. So it's a full strategy around social media that we'll have to nail to tell people and show people what you do, because you do properly stuff. Yeah. So what would the angel actually look for in you? So if you're in a networking meeting, you've spotted a couple of people who you know's got money, you know they've got money, but what would they look for in you? And it's all about values and getting them on board. So the qualities and values within you and your investment opportunity. So within your business. By the way, just take photographs of these slides if you want. If there's anything there that's going to help you, that's why I put them up. They need to get confidence, knowledge, and experience from you. So this is what they need to feel from you. So how are you going to give them confidence, knowledge, and experience? So basically, you're going to have a really robust business plan. Now, within that business plan, you're going to have your strategy in detail, a full plan. You're going to have to know the demand for your strategy. So let's say if it's something like social housing or supported living, historically, what has that strategy been like? What is it in today's market? What's the numbers? What's the statistics on that? And actually future proofing. So what is that going to look like in 12 to 24 months time? So you really need to know your business. Do all of your due diligence on test your planned project, know your market, and you've got to really be a master of your strategy in area. You really need to know that. So a lot of people come up and they've got a deal and it's like, Debbie, have you got any angels with 20 grand? And there's massive holes in the deal. And, it's because they don't know the deal. They don't know how to structure it. So you're going to have to spend some time really digging into this. So the numbers, how do the numbers actually work? So how much money are you going to need to get into the deal? What is the development costs? What is the cost of the money? Is there any margin in there? What is the exit lending? What is the GDV on that project? So this could be anything from a buy to let to something bigger. So it's really, they need to have the confidence in you that you know your numbers, because you've got to put the cost of their money in there as well. So what is your project exits? So, we need 2 or 3 exits. So these are all things that an angel is looking for in you, that knowledge, that confidence, that experience. And when I say experience, it could actually be your first deal, but it's your team. So you could put your mentor on your business plan, your business proposal. You could have your project manager, your builder, your finance expert, your legals, your solicitor. All of that gives you credibility. So it could be your first deal, but you have got a team that is going to execute that and get their money back out of the deal. Yeah, so that's really important. So it doesn't matter if it's your first one, you just need to be knowledgeable, know your strategy, know what your business is. So qualities and values of your power team. So because they're the ones that's going to execute the deal. Your angel knows that you're not going to roll your sleeves up and get up there and put a kitchen in and a bathroom and all of that. It's usually a power team that does that because you're the one that's going out and getting the deals, structuring the deals, and managing your power team to do all of the other stuff. And it gives you huge credibility. So let's have a look at. So also the major thing what the angel is looking for is how much will they make? So obviously they've went through your values align. There's a lot of other stuff. You have to build a relationship. And when you're meeting them, the first network meeting, usually that's the first stop. So it's like, then you'll know whether you want to work together. And then from there, you'll meet again and you'll go through the full business proposal, meet for coffee. So it'll take you 2 or 3 times, maybe 4 times before you get this angel on board. So how safe is the money? So how much money will they make? So what is their true ROI on the money they're going to give to you? So what's your ROI? What is are you paying them monthly? What is the monthly amount that they're going to get? When are they going to get it? Have you got to do the development first or do the refurb and then they get it from month 2? So there's loads of different ways that you can structure how they get their money. So it might mean that they get a little bit more money, but they get it 3 months into the deal. So there's lots of different ways you can do it. Are they going to roll it up to the end? So we really need to know and show them where that margin is, where they're going to get their money. And what if the shit hits the fan, the refurb has took longer, the development has took longer, there's been a change in the market, so you need to make sure that you know your market trends in your area. So if the market's changed, let's say it's a development, it's in 8 months and flips don't work anymore, the mortgage rates have went up. So can we turn those properties into rental properties, and will they work on the rent based on what they've got development finance on those properties to cover the costs and cover the angel? So you need to have at least 2 or 3 exits in your plan, and that's really important. And once you've done this once, obviously you have to put this together and learn your strategy in your area. That is your plan and you will be a master of it, and that'll come across to the angel massively. So we need the angels to scale up. So with me or with yourselves, once you've done this once or twice and you're professional, the angels usually reinvest. They get used to the money every month and it's great. So they use that money, might be for uni, for the kids, could be for a family meal out, wherever it is. They get used to that money and they get to trust you and to know that you know your stuff. So if we ain't got any cash, we can't really do anything. So are you going to just stand still and say, I've got no money? Or are you going to go out and get the deals and then get the money? We just have to keep investing and don't let the fact that you haven't got any of your own money stop you, because if you do that, you're never going to succeed and you're never going to get anywhere. We need angels' money. Fact. We have to get these angels on board. So we can use angel funding to do short term. So your short term is you buy a property, you refurb it, you refinance it, you pull all your money out. Now that is a strategy. It is out there. I would say if you waited for that strategy, then you're going to build your portfolio. It's going to take much longer. So my preferred one is we get long-term angels. So you buy a property, you refurb it, you refinance it, and you leave money in. But that money in the deal is your angels' money, not yours. But you have to structure the deal so you know there's enough cash flow to pay your angel, pay the mortgage, and give you the cash flow that you need on each property. Yeah, so we'll work the deal around the cash flow. So everybody runs out of money, so we definitely need that money to scale up. Has anybody used angels who's on the Zoom to scale up the business? So short-term versus long-term, and that Wayne's not in here yet, but he'll explain about how you can actually use angels' money. You can't use an angel money with a mortgage, but you can use it with the bridge. It depends on the company. So all of this we need to know. And on the refinance, will the lender on the mortgage want to know where the angel money come from? How do I actually sort that out? Do they pay it into our limited company? So there's a lot of factors and process that you need to go through to make sure you're going to get the refinance at the end. So it's not just getting an angel, is it? It's like there's a lot of work to do. But again, once you've done it once, you can do it again and have that cookie cutter model, which is brilliant. So this is, sorry, I can't get down there. That's that. So scaling up. So if we wanted to replace your wage, so you're gonna, when they say financial freedom figure, I like to call it replacing your wage. Really, you've got figure one, replace your wage. Figure two, you move up. You can afford some nice holidays and other stuff, and then scale up to number three, and that's usually where actually you're comfortable. You're always going to be doing properly, but you're comfortable in what you're doing, and you can scale up quicker once you've got your third figure. So let's look at £1,500 a month, because in the Northeast, I would say that was a fair wage. It's like a normal wage that people get. So let's see how we can use angels to get to £1,500 a month. And let's say 250 net per property net cash flow on a buy-to-let strategy. Let's keep it simple for those who haven't invested before and you want to start off with your foundation of your business, which is buy-to-lets. We love buy-to-lets. So do all agree that 6 buy-to-lets will get us our £1,500 a month net? Yeah, after mortgage and cash, mortgage, more, lettings and management fee, that's how much we want out of each property. So 250 a month. Now, this is just an example of a deal. I'm not going to go into too much, but if you had 6 properties at £90, 90 grand, done a value, the refurb's 15, roughly the fees are 5 grand. If it was a money in, money out, you would need to go for 47,500, but you can't. The vendor needs more money. So we just need to leave money in the deals, but we'll leave the angels money in the deals. So you're going to have to calculate what interest on that 10 grand are you going to be paying out of your cash flow, because that's going to have to come out of your 1,500 on the 6 properties. So it really means that we're going to need a couple of more properties to pay the angel back, the angel cash, the angel interest. So 6 will give away 1,500, another 2 will give us our angel money and more equity, which is more security for the angel. So it's a really good strategy to get a buy-to-let. And obviously you're buying in the right area, so you're going to get that capital growth and the rents will go up. So on refinance, we're leaving 10 grand in each deal. So obviously you've got to start somewhere with about 35,000 to buy the property, 25% deposit, refurb it. So with your fees, it's going to be about 35 grand based on the Northeast, because we're dead cheap. And then you refurb it and refinance it and leave it 10 grand in. But it's more about, I want to show you how we can use 60 to 80 grand to scale your portfolio up, not the beginning of the journey. It's more about leaving that money in 3 to 5 years. So how to leverage angel money to upscale. So we need long-term angels. I know we like to promise, when we're first starting an angel right, can have your money for 12 months, but really we need it for the length of the mortgage term. So when we put a 3-year or 5-year mortgage on the end, then really I want that angel in for that length of time, and so do you. So if we work on 7%, angels want a bit more now, so it depends on the security, but for this exercise I put 7%. So your angels are going to cost you $350 per calendar month. So that's why we've got the extra 2 properties to pay your angels out of that cash flow, because we need all the rest. We need the £1,500 out of the 6 houses. So in our example, you will have 8 properties valued at 90 each, 90k each. So let me show you something amazing. Well, I think it's amazing. So you've got your 8 properties. You've got your £1,500 per calendar month. Now, if you look at the done of value, 720. Now, they're not going to be 720 in 3 or 5 years' time. They're going to go up 5 or 10% compounding, depending where you buy. You've still got equity from day one of 100k. Your angel money's in there of 80k, and you owe the bank 540. So if you had to pay your angel back and something happened, you could actually sell all of those properties and you could sell them 100,000 below market value. And that showing your angel that gives them confidence that if they needed the money back and you can replace it with another angel, that you've actually got equity in the properties. So I find when I first started, angels love this. We're like, right, I totally get it. I know where you come from. My money is actually in the deal and you've got equity. So that is a no-brainer. So I don't know if you can see any of these. It's a little bit small, but these are some of my angels. So I've been doing property investment for 15 years. Well, actually 20 year. So I've raised, so this is just one chunk of money I've raised, about 2 million. And if you can have a look, I've just got the initials of the angel. This is just some of it. I don't owe all of this now, thank God. So I have paid some back. So if you look and you've got interest only, which is when you pay monthly, but you still owe the same capital as what you borrowed. So if you borrowed 100 grand and you paid 12% over 12 months, or your 7%, you would pay the interest every month, but you're still going to owe 100 grand in the end. But if you have a high cash flowing strategy, something like service accommodation, where let's say your angel said, look, I can angel you the money, but I really need £1,000 income a month. That's what I need off this money. So what you can do is you can be a little bit creative and we can do what you call an interest in capital payment. So, and this is where you can actually get the interest down a little bit. So if you've got like, four lovely SA apartments in the block and you can afford to pay £1,000 to your angel, on that one where it's got 90,000, what we did was we paid 6% interest. So £600 of that £1,000 was interest to the angel. The other £400 was capital. So every single month for 4 years, that £400 came off the capital. So every month we owed less and less and less. So compounding on that capital, you only pay interest on what you owe. So you're ending up paying more interest off. So in a nutshell, as a strategy, we only owed 50,000 or thereabouts after 4 years with this angel. So you can look at different ways of paying your angel back that can actually knock your debt down. So that I feel is a good strategy. So this 2 million was found by networking, talking to people, building relationships, and finding out who was in the room with the money. So I would ask the organisers, who's in the room? I need money. I've got deals for people, but I need money for my deals. Is there anybody I should be speaking to? And your organisers want you to get out what you want out of that networking meeting, so it's all good. So don't feel like you're being cheeky. So conclusion. So you need to turn up at the right networking events. You need to do your DD on who has your money in that room. Don't waste any time faffing around, stick with one person for like 20, 30 minutes. work the room, have a robust business plan. So know your business strategy. That needs graphs in it, it needs exits in it, it needs what money that you need for your developments, and just be clear, have a clear plan for your angels so they can see it straight away where you're going and that you have got their money safe. You're going to keep their money safe. You're going to be the expert, and we definitely need a 5 to 10 minute propelling pitch to get them excited to know about your business, build a relationship, tell them your values, and make sure they're aligned, because you want to be working with this person a long time, so you really need to make sure that you get on and that you want to work with them a long time, and your unique value proposition and the benefits of your proposal and development opportunity. So you need to get all of that across. So when you're looking for angels, and why I put this together is a lot of people are finding a deal and looking for 10 or 15 grand, but they don't really know the business. They don't really know the strategy inside out. They don't know how they're going to keep the angel money safe, and they don't know that there's any equity in the property. So there's a lot of things that you need to sit and think about. But once you've done it and you've got the plan, then you're sorted. So I'm going to now pass you on to Lee, who's going to give us some legal tips on a really sexy subject, Lee, isn't it?
Well, I think it is, but I'll probably bore you all to death, but I'll try my best.
So I'm going to give some giveaways as well on there. So can you see your slides there, Lee?
Yeah, I can. You'll just have to obviously move them forward for me because I can't do that from here.
Okay, I am on minimum wage, but come on.
Well, I've got my glamorous assistant here tonight. Um, so I just want to just touch really briefly on something that two little bits that Debbie's talked about. So when we're talking about the propelling pitch, that is, generally speaking, and apologies if you can hear my son, he's getting very excited over Pokemon in the other room. So if you can hear him shouting, I do apologize. Um, but the propelling pitch is obviously when you're in front of an investor, you're trying to tell them all about you, what you do, what you can do for them, how you can make their returns, fantastic, whatever it may be. But I wouldn't lose sight of the fact as well, like if you've got, and I've told a few people this on Monday night when we did a similar talk, if you've got like a branded folder, because usually you're buying these in companies, so you can have a lovely branded folder and you can have paperwork in it. So, tangible paperwork that you can present in a pack to said investor with copies of, I don't know, copies of the loan agreement that you use, copies of the legal charges that you use. And obviously you present it all to them in a certain way. It just shows that you're serious about what you're asking for. They obviously can see on social media what you're about and how you're acting and everything, which is great. But I just think it sets you way above other people if you've got some kind of tangible paperwork that you can present in a really professional way. Because if you imagine, all 40 people in this room are all looking for investors, how do you set yourself
Mm.
above the rest of everybody else wanting exactly the same thing? And it's little things like that that can really make you, well, I think, stand out massively from everybody else. And then one other little thing is obviously we're talking about the business plans, and what Debbie mentioned, once you've got one, you're kind of sorted, and that is 100% correct. But what I would say is you should be reading, like if you're going to specific events and certain people are going to be there, and people have introduced you over Zoom or by text or whatever, and they're going to be there, do your due diligence, as Debbie says, but sometimes you might need to tweak that plan. It's a bit like applying for a job. Everyone wants that job, but you need to potentially look at what the investor might want, and obviously potentially, well, in my view, adapt what you're looking for. Because if you're going in and that particular investor's looking for long term, and you've gone straight in with, I just want a short term, investment from you, and that's not their strategy. Because some of these investors have their own kind of strategy in what they're trying to accomplish. So just be mindful that, don't present something to somebody that is just not what they're looking for either. And I don't know if Debbie agrees or not, but like I
Oh
said,
yeah.
I just kind of feel like it would be a bit the same as applying for a job. Anyway, I'll shut up about that and we'll move forward with some really exciting stuff. So I won't touch too much on the next two slides, but as a law firm, these are what we kind of do. in terms of across the board, and then obviously the property specific stuff, which is more relatable for all of you lot. So we do kind of specialize more in the kind of the quirky, the unusual, the more complex. Obviously, there's lots of solicitors out there that can help you with your sales and purchase of buy to let, and they're very straightforward things, which are great. But what we like to do is spend real time with investors, sitting people down like yourself, whether we're acting for you as a buyer, or we also act for lenders ourselves in preparing the paperwork that you will then sign for the amount of money that you're borrowing from that particular angel, for example. So we do like to spend a lot of time doing more of the kind of unusual stuff.
I think you do like the creative stuff, like the links to an assisted sale document and contract. So anything like that, which which in this market actually is working really well, Lee
Yeah,
can sort you out with all of that. And there's not many people actually that solicitors think like us in the way where, say computer says no, but all legal, of course, but Lee will get what we want across and keep us safe. And obviously we've got to keep the vendor safe as well, which is
absolutely.
brilliant.
Yeah. So when I was obviously asked to do this talk, it was a bit of a difficult one for me because as I said on Monday, for those that were there, and apologies for duplicating out myself, but I probably shouldn't say it, but I generally don't care where the money's coming from in some regard, because as long as it stacks up in terms of AML, then your money can come from anywhere. Where it can become a bit more complex is when Wayne and finance is involved, but he'll go into that bit later, and that's where you've got to be careful. But for my benefit, when I'm looking at where your money's coming from, and that could be several investors, one investor, wherever, I just need to make sure that that money is legitimate, and that's where I'm going to gear this small talk from today and kind of help you understand what AML is and what we're looking for. So as you can see on the screen there, my definition of angel investing is just borrowing money that is from somebody that's not a lending institution. So it's an individual, or it could be another company that give short-term loans to people, long-term loans, which is can be similar to bridging, but they're not from a mainstream lender, is what I'm trying to get at. So there can be some complications for that, but I think that's more kind of covered by Wayne, because the complications can arise there more so from where we're at. But as long as the AML stacks up, we'll you can tell us wherever the money's coming from, but we just have to do our due diligence and our checks. Um,
And how long does that take, Lee, the EML?
It completely depends upon where your money's coming from. So
Mm.
by the time we've opened a file and done the kind of ID checks on the client, it can take a week, it could take 2 weeks. It depends how complex the where your money's coming from. So if you've got overseas investors, again, we don't shy away from that as long as it stacks up. In terms of where their money's come from, that's fine. There are some kind of listed countries where any sort of money coming from those countries are just a no-no, and no solicitor would touch them, because they're kind of, I can't remember what the wording is, but they're just countries where you can't touch essentially. So we do have to make sure we're aware of that, but it does depend.
Yeah.
What's the next? So anti-money laundering, AML, that's what it stands for. And it's a three-stage process, sometimes two-stage, but it's just that process of we're instructed by a client. We obviously have to identify the client. We identify where your funds are coming from if you're putting in X amount of money yourself, and then where the rest of the money's coming from. It's very straightforward if you're getting it from a bridging lender or mortgage lender, because we don't do AML on them, because it's just a lending institution, which is acceptable, full stop. Where it can get a little bit more complex is if you are borrowing money from an investor, whether that's a family member, a friend, someone that you've worked with in the past, somebody that has a company that is just going to lend you some money. But we have to obviously verify where that funding has come from. ID verification. So I have so the next two slides, one's to do with ID, one's to do with proof of address, and you kind of they do what they say on the tin. I've split them into two different types here, the traditional method, and then you've got the modern method. So traditionally, as a lawyer, we would have people come into the office with their original ID. We would take copies of the documentation, certify them, and then off the clients go. Likewise for an investor, it doesn't matter who it is, it's what we would do. Unfortunately, these days, sophisticated fraudsters are becoming very clever. Just 2 seconds. Oscar. Sorry.
Can tell it's real,
Um,
isn't it?
yeah, real life problems. So yeah, we would take them, but fraudsters are becoming exceptionally clever, and it's very difficult to. For well, I don't think I could identify a fraudulent passport if they came, somebody presented me one because they just look the same. So when I talk about the modern method, it's all about the biometric online verification, and that's what we as a firm do. So it's a case of we need an email address, a mobile number, and we send out a link to you. Oh, it's gone. But anyway, I'll carry on. We send out a link to you, and then you fill out from the comfort of your own home all the information that we're going to need from you. So it asks for pictures of yourself, so it does a liveness check. It runs checks against all government back data. It does. It's very, very smart, and there are lots of companies that actually offer that. So we have one that runs with our case management, and that's what we use. It's exactly the same for the proof of address, which would have been the next slide that has gone off somewhere. I don't know what's happened to Debbie. I think she's gone. So while I'm talking, I'll try and find my own version of it. But again, the biometric side of it, it links to Experian, it links to the council's databases for polling and all that sort of stuff. So it's very smart, and that's what we actually use to verify you. So what I would say is when you're looking yourselves at getting or approaching angel investors, you can do this yourself. There are lots and lots of companies out there. Credas is one of them. Third Thought's another one where you can actually do your own ID verification. And the reason I'm putting that across to you now is because if you yourselves, obviously a solicitor will do their verification themselves. Um, but if you're looking to borrow money from an angel investor and that money becomes from somebody that is a crook, essentially, I don't know, they've got cannabis farms and that's where their money's come from, then you're going to end up in a really, really sticky situation because the government or the criminal proceeds and the police will just seize all your assets. They'll freeze all your bank accounts, and you've then got a big problem. And whether you've not actually taken that money yet, but they've got reason to believe you've used the angel before, or other information comes to light, then you've just got to be really careful. So it's important that you yourselves undertake due diligence. But obviously, we as solicitors would also do that on anyone where the funds are coming from. It doesn't matter who it is. If it's a company, then we're verifying all of the directors and shareholders and anybody with an interest in that company, because due diligence for a company is slightly different to an individual, but the kind of principle is the same. I don't know who's got the screen now that can go on. Source of funds and source of wealth. Great. So they are slightly different in what they are. So essentially we're looking at everything in its entirety. So source of funds, as it says on the screen, is kind of where are those funds? What where are they and where have they come from essentially? So usually a client or an investor in this case, because we're talking about angels, would present bank statements to us. We as a firm ask for 6 month statements. Some firms ask for 12, sometimes they ask for three. It does depend on the firm. But as a general rule, and the legislation does kind of recommend that you ask for six because it gives you a good indication of what's happening with funds. We then obviously have to go one step further. So your money's in a bank account, but then we have to start asking where's that come from? So whether that is a sale of a property, whether it's a remortgaged property, whether it's the realization of shares, stocks, whatever it may be, we then have to ask that question. Whatever the answer may be, we then obviously then have to get evidence as a result of that. So it does come across sometimes as that we're being really a big pain in everyone's arse, essentially, but we're not. We're governed really heavily on source of funds and source of wealth, and it's becoming more and more onerous on solicitors to have to basically be the police and kind of go down to where did you get this last cent from. So it can be a bit of a pain, but you just have to bear with whoever's acting for you, because they're not trying to be awkward. Some firms, I mean, essentially, it's a risk-based approach. So we assess risk in a certain way, and there are other firms that assess it in a much more tight, strict way. In which case, if £200 came into your bank, they're going to ask you what the £200 was for. We're not so like, that to me is a little bit ridiculous, because what we're looking to kind of assess the risk on here is large amounts of money. Where's it coming from? Does what the client or the investor say stack up to what we have been told? And then that kind of goes into the source of wealth quite nicely. So where does it make sense as to where the funds have come from? So that comes into KYC, which you've probably all heard about as well. Know your client. And if we've got a 24-year-old angel investor that has shown salary statements for £1,500 a month, but yet they're giving you £80,000, we would be asking a lot of questions as to how and where's this money come from, because it doesn't make sense, generally speaking. So we do have to go sometimes in much greater depth to understand where the funds are, where have they come from, and is it sufficient, and does it stack up? It's got the next
Have
slide.
I been sacked?
Will be.
Sorry,
Conversation outside this one.
my computer died.
I did it.
It had to be something, didn't it? So, right.
So we've jumped a bit, but I've kind of already covered the source of funds and the source of wealth and the difference between them. So again, like I mentioned before, you can do the same level of due diligence as what we can do. And we would strongly advise that you do that, because again, you're just from an earlier age than what we become involved, you're already starting to ask these questions. And that's kind of why I geared this presentation on that, to give you some tools, tips and advice as to what you can be doing to protect yourself as well. That's kind of what we do. Like I say, you can do your own checks. 2 seconds. Oscar. Shh. Good grief. I wish bedtime's 15 minutes, so bear with me. But yeah, if you want to move on to the next slide, I'm gonna hurry up so I can go and whip this child into shape. Considerations. So there are additional things you might want to consider. So source of funds and source of wealth is exceptionally important to everybody looking to take money from somebody, give money to somebody, whatever it may be. But depending on the type of transaction that you're looking to do, there are other documentation that you might want to consider as well. So I put on here a joint venture. If you are looking to develop land and you are going into kind of partnership with another individual, or your investor wants more protection, so wants to joint venture with you as opposed to just give you money, then there are other documentation that you might want to consider, like a joint venture agreement. I can't really go into any great depth of these because it really will depend upon the circumstances of each transaction, because some you might need to be really in depth. But the biggest bit of advice I can give is it has to be exceptionally clear as to who's doing what, when they're doing it, who's paying for what. If something were to go wrong, who sorts it out, who pays for the issues, is it split? Because if it isn't, you can find yourself in a lot of trouble if you're the one that is the one at the kind of the worst side of it, when somebody just walks away from a deal and leaves you in a whole heap of turd, which you obviously don't want to be in. And then coupled with a joint venture agreement, the investor might want security by way of a charge, whether that's a first legal charge, second legal charge. You might need extra documentation in terms of that. And we can help you with it all, but it's just things to consider when you're pitching an idea to an investor. You might hear some of these words, and you might go, oh, I can actually offer this, and get your little pack out, and you can have examples of these in there ready to go. And like I say, it's just makes you come across as a very professional, strong, serious person that wants to really kind of move this forward. And I think that's it from me. Obviously, I'm around. I can assist on one-to-one. We do offer free sessions, if you will. We've had people that we just come in for a few hours. We kind of talk through their strategy, talk through what they think they need, and then we can tell them what you actually do need. And sometimes that's not the same thing. So we're just happy to help. Like I say, it's not about how much money can we squeeze you for. It's about how can we help you. And just sitting down with that cup of coffee, we're here to help.
That's fab. And I think it is, we have to come over professional if you're going to do this long term. And we do have family and friends who've got 10 or 20 grand or whatever, but I think on the bigger scale, you know, you're gonna need some bigger money for your 3-year, 4-year, 5-year plan. So it's good to get your business proposal all done. One of the things I was just going to quickly bring up as well, like there's a few people I know where you've got to be careful, haven't you, when money's getting transferred from to the solicitor, where it's chunks of deposits and stuff like that, and it's been some sort of fraud email on top. So the stuff like that, maybe we could do a chat on the next one about things to look out for when you're actually doing purchases.
Absolutely. I mean, it's becoming rife. I mean, we've got we do a lot of training on this. We have a lot of systems in place, but we get them all the time. I get emails from my business partner, Mark, asking me questions that I just know he wouldn't ask. But it's about, like, again, know your investors, ask questions. Don't be scared to ask an investor questions on where their funds are coming from, because
Mm.
again, if you're an investor that's done it a few times, that makes you again come across in a very good light, in my view, because you're asking questions.
Yeah.
And like I say, you don't want to be sending your money to the wrong account. And before you send any money, always speak to your solicitor, speak to anybody, and just say, "Did you send me this?" Because hopefully you'll have had many a conversation with whoever, so you should know how they sound, who they are. You might, a lot of my clients have my personal number, so they can just call me. And if something's a bit dodgy, then I can just tell them, no, I didn't send that. And we have had problems where we've sent emails to clients. It's been intercepted from a client perspective, and they've sent funds. Well, we had one, it was £50,000. They sent funds to an account that wasn't ours. Thankfully, the bank stopped it before it did go anywhere. But you've just got to be careful. But
Yeah.
like, again, doing your third fault checks, it asks the investor, if you're doing it yourself, to link their bank account. Now, it doesn't take loads of information from the bank account. It just pulls through what you would need to know. And that's usually the 6-month statements. And it gives you kind of analytics as to the largest, deposit, the largest money being spent. So you can start to analyze yourself.
Mm.
Does this, somebody's offering me £100,000 here and they've just come out of nowhere. Does this sound right? Because
Mm.
again, you just don't get kind of, I can kind of imagine everyone's going, oh, someone's offering me 100 grand. It's fantastic. Off I go. And I'm going to be really, have 5 properties from this. But you've just got to be careful, because you can end up being spoofed just as easily. And then,
Mm.
oh, I'll give you £100,000, but I need from you X, Y, and Z. And then they've got ID from you. They've got this from you, and it's dangerous. But there are fail safes in place to help prevent that.
Right, so that's been brilliantly. So obviously there's more to it then when you're getting an angel on board than just getting some money in the bank. So Lee's done his legal bit. Now we're going to have our Wayne doing his finance bit. Where can we use angel money? How can we use it? What do the exit lenders want to see? So Wayne, I can
Lovely job. Don't we share my screen again, Debs?
yeah. So I'll just make you a
All is good. I'm on.
yeah.
You see
Ooh.
it? Perfect. Guys, good to see everyone. Some familiar faces and some not so familiar faces. So yeah, good to see those of you that are regulars and those of you that are new. Those of you that are new, you won't know who I am unless you've seen me at other Debbie does property events, possibly. But yeah, as Deb said, my name's Wayne, Wayne Gray. I'm the managing director of DMI Finance, and I have been assisting investors arrange finance on all forms of property investment for the last 18 years, dare I say. So guys, we're talking about angel investment today, but before I do, I'll just give you a little bit of background about me and the team. As I said, specialist mortgage broker focusing on investors or aspiring investors. So, really, guys, whatever stage you are at on your property investment journey, we're there to help. We arrange finance for just about anybody on anything. So do not hesitate to give us a call. Like with Lee, sit down, grab a coffee, have a Zoom, have a call, have a conference call, and we'll just thrash it out and guide you to where you need to be. We've been trading for 24 years, the company, and I've been there 18 years, all forms of property finance. And as I say, we're directly regulated by the FCA. So, we're not restricted in which lenders we can approach, for what it's worth. So guys, today we're talking about angel investor finance. And I think, as Lee and Debbie have already said, the term to me is, when I first heard it, it kind of was a bit ambiguous. You know, the term investor makes you think that actually they're putting money into, or they have a firm relationship with the individual deal. And perhaps this is some sort of joint venture agreement. Of course, that's not the case, guys. When we're talking about an investor or an angel investor, really, ultimately, to put it really in true black and white, simple terms, it's a private loan. It's somebody lending you a private loan. And that's the view that we and lenders would take. Now, of course, what we're here to, well, my part is to talk about, well, how do lenders look at it? Will they lend on it? Are they happy with angel investor finance? And, you know, I hate to be the party pooper, I guess, and drop a bombshell so early on, but in truth, buy-to-let lenders, if they're lending on a purchase, guys, you have to say, are not going to be comfortable in lending where you're borrowing all or a significant proportion of the deposit from a third party. They're not comfortable. Buy-to-let lenders, as I put here, want you to have skin in the game. You know, this all, when I say skin in the game, I'm talking about you putting your own money in so that if and when something happens, you know, as it did in 2008, there is something, you know, some commitment that you yourself have committing you to make this work. Because, you know, nothing worth having, guys, comes easy, you know, and lenders see that. They want to see that you've got skin in the game. From a buy-to-let perspective, now you might think, oh, well, that's, you know, be really hesitant. Bear in mind, guys, bridging lenders are a completely different kettle of fish, as I'll go on to in a minute. One thing I would say about buy-to-let, guys, and using, you know, angel funding is, you know, as with anything, it's bigger picture stuff. A lot of people think that, well, I have to get angel funding because I can't get a normal mortgage, or the level of borrowing I might be able to get on my background properties wouldn't satisfy or wouldn't be sufficient to raise a deposit. The reality is you don't know what you don't know. And, you know, use the relationships that you have, speak with your broker and say, well, look, you know, I don't think I can get a residential mortgage on my own home because my income's quirky, because I've only got 1 year's accounts and I've only, you know, I'm employed and I've only been there 2 months. Well, the reality is, you know, there may be finance for that. The reality is you might be able to get 80% on a buy-to-let, or you might be able to get 100% on a bridging loan. So don't just, although we're talking here today about angel investor finance, guys, which is very much the focus, don't just think that, you know, because you can't see whether you've got the money in your existing assets, that you don't have the money in your existing assets. There might be something that you can realize from them. But if we can't get angel funding with an ordinary buy-to-let mortgage, where can we get it? As I say, bridging lenders are far less concerned. Bridging lenders, you know, if you've got a beating heart, they're comfortable in lending to you, by and large. You know, that, you know, I have to say it's borne about by, you know, the cases that we've submitted over the last 18 years. They'll be comfortable in lending to you. So bridging lenders, you know, they're far more flexible, far less concerned with angel funds being the source of deposit. Of course, they want to be diligent. They want to make certain that they understand, as Lee's already mentioned, you know, the AML is imperative. You know, these funds can't be, you know, from Johnny's dodgy dealings. You know, they have to be from a legitimate source, but they're comfortable in lending on the basis. And as I said before, you know, a lot of people see that, that's hindrance, can't get a buy-to-let, it's just bridging lenders. Let's face it, guys, bridging is highly likely to be the most strategic form of finance for you to buy these properties on anyway. You know, the methodology that most of us will be employing will be buying a property, enhancing its value, and then leveraging against that enhanced value. And so that be our strategy is what we're all looking to implement anyway, in which case a bridging facility, short term, whilst you do the property up, is the most viable tool for, you know, in the toolbox anyway. So don't be put off by that. You know, there's no concern by that. Bridging, it's more expensive, but it's a right tool, and they'll be very happy with angel funding. And what I've put here is repayment to the bridging being sale of the property and refinance of onto an onward buy-to-let. Absolutely. So, guys, just bear in mind, you say, well, okay, how do I get off that bridge? Well, at that point, you've somewhat regularized the deposit. When you're coming to remortgage a property, there'll be far less questions about your original source of deposit from many buy-to-let lenders. So that whole process of where you utilize, well, whose funds did you utilize to buy the property, will with many lenders be redundant, be a moot point. The question isn't going to be raised because you're now remortgaging property that you own. And of course, you've created, guys, that skin in the game. You've put that blood, sweat, and tears in by buying it for an amount, by not necessarily with your own fair hands, but by putting in a new bathroom, kitchen, refurb, whatever you've done. That's your skin in the game. It may not be in the cash necessarily because that came from somewhere else. But your skin in the game is the works and the improvements that you've made. So that, I hope, gives you some comfort, guys. Now, of course, there are always alternatives. Bridging isn't everybody's cup of tea, and there are alternatives, and sometimes it's a way of the way that you view something. So, you might say, well, it's angel money. It's not my money. But what it boils down to is really what you've got is a gift from a family member. Now, if you've got a gift from a family member, guys, that's not angel deposit. That's not angel borrowing. That's not an angel investor. A gift from a family member, a close blood relative, is absolutely acceptable to 99.9% of all buy-to-let lenders. So if you've got a family member that's gifting you the money, lenders are going to be perfectly happy with it. They'll have to sign a letter to say it's a gift. They'll have to say that it's not interest bearing and they don't want it back. But what I would say, and I'm not encouraging anyone to be kind of coy here with the lender, but the point of gift is that, if Debbie or Lee decide to gift me some money, and perhaps it's not the best point because they're not my blood relatives that I know of, but if my blood relative decides to gift me some money, there's nothing to say in a year's time, in 10 years' time, in 20 years' time, in a month's time, that I can't gift them money. A gift is a gift. So, but if it's confirmed as a gift at the point that they're lending you the money, then buy-to-let lenders will be happy to use that. And of course, then we'll be in a position to just approach normal mainstream lenders. There is another alternative, guys. And again, it's perhaps a form of angel investor finance, but slightly different look at it. And that would be vendor finance or a deferred payment. So this is, guys, when you're buying a property from somebody and they are happy to allow you to leave or to loan you a proportion of that sale price as your deposit. Now, again, it's not going to be traditional buy-to-let lenders, but many of the challenger lenders will be willing to accept this. So they're priced a little more expensive than buy-to-let lenders, but they'll be comfortable with using vendor finance. So that's to say, right, I've got a property, I'm buying it for £200,000. The vendor has no finance on it. So, he's happy to extract £150,000 of that £200,000 purchase, now leaving £50,000 in it, and I'll give him that in 5 years' time. And there are lenders that will lend on that premise. It's angel finance, but it's not angel finance from somebody that's completely, third party and nothing to do with the transaction. And hence why there are more traditional challenger lenders that will lend on that premise. And then, guys, as I said before, the alternatives are, you say, well, actually, do I really need it? Have I got funding in my background properties that I can realize that I wasn't aware of? Because you would not believe the amount of people that think one thing because they're conditioned. I don't think I can get mortgages on my own property, despite me intending to work until I'm 70. But because I'm 60, I can't get a residential mortgage. Well, of course you can. Your background buy-to-lets, you might think that you can't raise any equity from them. You might be able to. You might get further advances, additional borrowing, second charges. You guys speak with a broker. That's what we're here for. And establish whether there's a need for the angel finance or whether you can utilize the money out of your existing portfolio too. What considerations are there, guys? Food for thought. Well, one thing I would say, guys, is that lenders are pretty thorough, or certain lenders specifically are pretty thorough in their investigation, in their want or necessity to follow the money to get a real understanding of where these deposit funds are coming from. And they might say, okay, well, I can see it going into that bank, so I need to see that bank statement. I need to see this and this and this and this. Just be aware of that. Don't be sneaky. Don't think that the lender will, that your deposit will go under the radar. There will be times that it will, sure. But don't rely on that. If it's coming from third-party funds, guys, do the right thing. Get a bridge if it is, or go to a lender that will knowingly accept it. The last thing you want to do is be blacklisted from a lender because they've identified that the original source of funds were not your own. They were third parties. They were angel borrowing, and now that's your name tarnished with that lender, and the struggle to go back. One thing, and I know Deb says, and it's very important, guys, that image is everything, isn't it? People by people, and when you're marketing yourselves for these for the angels, you want people to see what you're doing. And I think Debbie mentioned, even if it's your first deal, you want, it doesn't matter how much you've done, you'll be able to appeal to investors. A lot of these angels will be people that know closely, and the more you show them what you're doing, the more confident and comfortable they'll be in backing you and investing in you. That said, guys, buy-to-let lenders have been known in the not too recent or not too distant past to look at social media profiles and be a little bit more thorough in their investigation. So what I would say, and this is not to mislead a lender, but is to say that if you do actively promote that you need or looking for angel funds, certainly it might well be worth locking down your social media profiles when you're coming to secure finance. Now, that's not to mislead a lender, because I would not encourage you using angel finance for the buy-to-let mortgages. It's to say that actually, even if they see that you're doing it in the background, some buy-to-let lenders will get their knickers in a twist. They'll get a little bit uncomfortable because you're doing it in the background, and but frankly, it's none of their concern. It's not on their property. You're not doing anything legitimately, but just lock them down for that purpose. The other point is that lots of people come to us, and his name's Marcus Smith, and his email address is marcus@lendmeyourmoneyfor10% return.com, or whatever it might well be, or I buy properties quickly. If your email that we're giving to a lender, it's easy for them to see that and say, oh, Marcus, I buy properties quickly. Let's have a look at ibuypropertiesquickly.com. Oh, Marcus here, he's advertising that it'll give someone 10% return on investment for 30 grand for 12 months. Oh, hang on, we're not comfortable with that. So just be a little bit careful about the image that lenders are seeing about you, because as I say, buy-to-let lenders aren't comfortable with angel funding. Bridging lenders, no issue whatsoever. Shout it from the rooftops. Bridging lenders won't care. They'll be very happy to do it. But buy-to-let lenders on the back end might be a little less comfortable, guys. Yeah, and then be open and honest with the broker. We're here. Lots of people think that the only requirement or only position of a broker is to throw an application at the lender that you already know of, chase for the valuation, chase for the mortgage offer, and then leave it to the solicitor. And fundamentally, that's not the role that I see as a broker. That might be the role that certain brokers feel that they employ, but that's not the impression, or not the role that we carry out. We're here to understand the facts that you have. This is you. This is what you're looking to do. These are the pertinent facts. And I guess it's accentuating the positives, not accentuating the negatives, and painting a picture in the most favorable light of you and the scenario to the lender. And of course, then progressing the application. So just be open and honest. We're sitting firmly your side of the table. And if we know the whole situation, then we'll be able to find a solution, undoubtedly. I can sit here and I say it every time I meet, there's finance there for anybody on anything. It's all a matter of cost. It's all a matter of how much the lender are willing to lend to you. And then the last point, guys, as I said, before, make sure you've got your exit, both for the bridging lender, because that's short-term funding. But the last thing you want to do is, as Debbie's mentioned, lots of her angels have lent and lent and lent and lent and lent. But the point is, she's never failed to that in that original commitment to pay that money back within the time that she said she's going to pay it back. Because you fail that, guys, and you fail your ability to do that, and you're not getting the money from them again because you've lost, no doubt, that credibility. So, when you're getting into this, it's about seeing the exit, starting at the back end, working your way forward and saying, okay, well, look, these are the commitments I have. These are the commitments I'm taking on now. What have I got? What's in place to make sure I can honor those commitments? I hope that makes sense, guys. That is pretty much it from me. Thank you very much for watching. If anybody isn't on or doesn't have access to our newsletter, if they'd like our newsletter, then please do subscribe. There's a little, it's the first time I've used a QR code, so do use it. We send an email out on a Tuesday morning, which is basically, guys, a really in-depth media briefing of the mortgage industry, the UK economy, and that's about it. But it's useful, I think.
Oh, Wayne, that was amazing. So, well, I did have some tech problems at the beginning, so we were running a bit late. So just to what you've said there, Wayne, I've just wrote down, I never ever ask for any money or offer any returns on social media. I just tell people what I do. Then they will get in touch with you. There is people who do that, and that might work from them, but I'm always concerned that my exit lender will get spooked if they know I've got other people's money. So I don't put that out there. And I would literally, if I worked hard on a deal, no matter how much work I put in it, and something went wrong at the end, then I would sell it to pay the angel back and have nothing. As long as I get my angel's money back, I don't care about the work I put in the deal. So as long as I can pay Wayne back or the lender, and I can pay my angel back, I've said, I will sell that property to get your money back. Even if I couldn't get another angel and I couldn't replace it quick enough, and I had a buyer or whatever, and I could just not get an angel, I would sell that deal to pay my angel back. So it's about your values and just the way that you think about stuff and your mindset, I think. So that was brilliant. So we covered the investor bit, a bit about how angels can scale up. So I know it was quite quick, but you just need to get that mindset that you need that money to scale up, and you're doing a good thing for the angel. If you're switched on and you've got a business plan, you can show win-win. You're helping them, they're helping you. So the quicker we get over that, why should they invest in us scenario, the better. And then we've went through all the finance stuff, and I always check with Wayne, what exit have I got for this? That always comes first. People get angels in HMOs and all sorts of things without an exit. And then obviously, we've got all things legal. So any agreements you need, any advice you need, just reach out, and then we're here to help. So yeah, bring your deals. I'm going to do a deal on the next deal clinic to show you an HMO property with an end user. So we're going to go through that. So we will go through it, Lee and Wayne, and get everything tickety-boo on that one. Any questions? Some of you asked for the slides. So any other questions, just reach out, DM us, any problems you've got. You don't have to wait. We can answer questions, but there might not be in a lot of detail. We're not here to structure full deals. We're here just to help. Okay, my lovelies, that's it from me. That's it from him. That's it from him. Have a fantastic evening. And we'll see you next month. Bye.
Yeah, bye-bye.